Thank you for inviting me and to give the opportunity to say some words about this strategy and our roadmap. So France published its space defense strategy in July 2019 after a space review conducted by Mrs. Parly, our Minister of Armed Forces. This strategy was requested by President Macron, who said that space was an issue of national security. So this strategy is based on a well-known triple statement, and I apologize if I state here the obvious. The first statement is the crucial importance of space and the services it offers for the daily functioning of our societies, for their economic prosperity, but also our nation defense and security. From this perspective, space services are essential for our strategic self-sufficiency, for political decision-making, and for preparation, planning, and conduct of our military operations. And the second statement is the upheaval of the world space ecosystem with the democratization of access to space, with the appearance and even the proliferation of commercial projects and non-state actors in space. And last, the third statement is the vulnerability of space activities, I would say, and infrastructures, which has never been greater in the face of ever-increasing risks and threats. So our space defense strategy actually aims at strengthening our strategic self-sufficiency, and it also aims at ensuring freedom of access and action to space. Action in space, actually. And first, we want to be able to respond to emerging threats. Second, we want to take advantage of the opportunities offered by the new space actors in parallel with the know-how of our, I would say, traditional major industry partners. But we also want to find a balance between our own capabilities on one hand and services provided by trusted private operators on the other end. And finally, we want to expand cooperations in the field of operations in space, and we want to open it up to new partners. These are the main lines, I would say, of our space defense strategy. Our roadmap is described in the strategy. It's structured around 4 axes. The first one is a new doctrine for military operations in space, with an emphasis on space surveillance and a new mission, the defense of our space capabilities. The second axis is a new capability ambition consistent with this doctrine. The third axis is a larger space expertise in the French MOD, specifically by attractive career path. And the last axis is a new governance and organization within the French MOD by creating a dedicated space command and by revisiting the relationship between the French MOD and the French Space Agency. And so we created in September 2019 the Space Command I'm in charge of, and this was intended to improve operational efficiency, consistency, visibility, and simplicity of our governance. This command is integrated into the Air Force, but it is nevertheless a joint command, and the Chief of the Defense Staff is responsible for the development of the military space policy, means cooperations, partnerships, defense space capabilities, and military operations in space. And the Chief of the Air and Space Force, because it was renamed recently Air and Space Force, is responsible for the development of military space expertise. So this command will be mainly based in Toulouse, at the heart of the center of gravity of the French space ecosystem, and at the same time the largest space ecosystem in Europe. And we will work in total synergy with the French Space Agency. We will create a space, already existing actually, space innovation lab dedicated to innovation in the space domain to provide military capabilities, I would say. And last, we are working on a Defense Space Academy in order to develop space expertise and to train military space operators. Well, France will spend more than 5 billion euros from now to 2025 to renew its legacy defense space capabilities, to start building a comprehensive and efficient defense space surveillance architecture, and to develop a real capability to protect and defend our space assets. And obviously 2025 is only a step, and we are aiming for full capabilities in terms of surveillance and defense means by 2030. So we want to implement, I would say, capabilities covering the entire spectrum, offering a wide range of options in order to be able to act continuously, flexible and proportionate, in particular facing an adversary who would act below the threshold of armed conflict. And to be more specific, our priorities are to improve our legacy capabilities, I would say, in terms of remote sensing, eavesdropping, and communications by replacing our current systems by 2025. Second, to develop a real capability to detect, monitor, and characterize any objects of military interest in all orbits, independently and 24/7, and to attribute any irresponsible, unfriendly, or hostile act. And thirdly, to have an active defense capability in space to face any threat, and I would say to self-defend our national assets and even allied and partners' assets. Cooperations are, I would say, the third priority of this strategy, and it's actually a cornerstone of this strategy. So challenges in space will have to be faced together with allies and partners, and France is indeed seeking to develop and share with capable and willing partners a common vision of the strategic challenges of space and in space, in particular, I would say, about threats and responsible behavior in space. And to this end, we are developing a number of cooperations and partnerships in bilateral or multilateral frameworks. And what we intend to develop is operational cooperations, and they involve operating or preparing to operate in the space domain with our allies in an environment that is new and largely unknown militarily, I would say. And so we need a common understanding, consistency, and interoperability while framing our doctrine to operate in space. So we have discussions through the Combined Space Operation Initiative or within NATO, and we also have bilateral talks. And it gives us some feedback and very interesting thoughts that help us to progress faster. And regarding recent events in space, I would say that we are already experimenting this with our allies. We already operate in space together. But this is the beginning of the story, I would say. Well, there is a roadmap described in the space strategy, but with 4 axes. But we have obviously a more detailed roadmap to implement this strategy. And we conduct this trying to keep a kind of a startup spirit, I would say, within the French Space Command, but also we conduct it as we would have a kind of military operations with line of operations and end state. So we are a very small organization, and we are only 270 women and men, and we are ramping up to 500 people in 2025. 30 of them joined us last summer, and we will have 40 to 50 new people joining every year by 2025. Most of the Space Command people will be in Toulouse, and people in facility, I would say, and which is Toulouse, which is the largest space industrial and academic hub in Europe, co-located with the French Space Agency. So we have launched the infrastructure and to host this command in Toulouse, and specifically the C2 facility in Toulouse, as we are already moving people there. And we will move our 2 space units currently located in Lyon and north of Paris between 2023 to 2025. We have also graduated our first satellite operators last summer, and they are already training in Toulouse on our satellites, and more are currently trained. And we work also on the definition with some partners on the Defense Space Academy, and and we have a very detailed roadmap regarding capabilities, because we want to be aware, capable, interoperable, resilient, and agile. And this is ambitious. So we have a comprehensive roadmap to do so. And here are some, I would say, of the subjects of this roadmap. First, we intend to replace, not we intend, this is planned actually ongoing, to replace our ISR and SATCOM assets by 2025. In terms of SDA, we will deploy some new sensors that will be operated by the Space Command, and we will add some commercial services. We already contracted 2 companies this year, and there will be more to come next year. A space patrouller will be tested on orbit by 2023, and this is a very ambitious goal. We will offer this asset will offer an initial operational capability, and in the meantime, we are studying different types of payloads to equip the next generation, and we aim at having full capability in this domain by 2030, taking benefits and lessons learned from this demonstrator. And another point, and definitely this is a cornerstone, is the C2 structure, and we will launch a proof of concept between 2022 and 2025. And the first step will be operational at the same time than I would say the demonstrator on orbit. And we intend to have full connectivity with allied partners and other services. And one of the main challenges of this C2 is data, because we will have to deal with a huge amount of data, and we are learning a lot actually on how to deal with this. So about the roadmap, we are on track. We work hard, but we need to focus, I would say, on high value actions on a day-to-day basis to achieve this, and we have to accept some risk, and we even have to accept to fail sometimes, potentially I would say, because we want to go fast, and we need to be agile. Well, I think the main challenge is to do, as a nation or collectively, what is necessary to make space, or I would say to make sure that space will remain a safe and peaceful environment for the benefit of humankind. This is the main challenge. So I would say that we do all we can in this regard. But I would like to add that France is not in a warmongering approach or in an arms race in outer space. But we want to take our responsibilities in making safe a safer place for the future. And the sustainability of our space activities and the security of our space infrastructures, and along with them our prosperity, our sustainable development, and our collective security are at stake. So we strongly believe that the right to self-defense is allowed in space, and as well as in any other domain, in fully accordance with the UN Chart. So having a space defense is therefore essential to maintain our strategic self-sufficiency, our freedom of appreciation and action in space, and most importantly, to discourage anyone to conduct irresponsible actions in space. So at the same time, we are continuing our diplomatic efforts with all the nations who want to promote and guarantee a peaceful use of space.